Sai Ram. I hope everyone can hear me.
Yes,
Yes,
Saira.
Saira.
Sai Ram. Thank you. Let's start the study circle with a prayer. Om. Dear Swami, we are so grateful to be able to meet here together in your presence today. While we are here together studying your word in your Bhagavata Vahini, we ask that you open our ears and hearts to whatever it is you want us to learn. Please speak through each one of us and help us progress in our spiritual journey. Jai Sai Ram. Sai Ram, everyone. Thank you for joining. I hope you all can hear me. I cannot see everyone, as in who is joined here today, but if there is anything you want to add or speak, please feel free to do so. Unmute yourself and you can speak. I will be muting you just because we are going to be playing an audio and want to make sure that if there is a disturbance, I would be muting your channel. So just a reminder to mute your cell phones and let's speak from the heart and listen with humility. Let us try to leave our egos outside of this discussion that can help us grow spiritually. Okay, just a review from last session. Last session was on Saturday, and this past Saturday we had a very, interesting discussion on God as a friend. We started with a Soham meditation, and then we listened to Swami is our best friend. It was by Arvind Balasubramanya. He had actually talked about his journey of making Swami his friend, and then we got into discussion on, can we think of God as a friend? What are those? How does that? How do we ready ourselves to see God as our friend? We talked about example of Asha ji and her faith with Swami as a friend, and then we had a long discussion on what stops us from thinking of Swami as a friend. Awareness is obviously required, and we did connect with that, and also about friendship being one of the 9 ways of devotion, and that needs 9 paths of devotion, rather, and that needs strong conviction in our hearts. There is the differences in human level friendship versus divine friendship were is something that we touched upon again, and of course we talked about friends are a choice and family is what we are born with, and then there were examples of Krishna and Arjuna and even the Pandavas, and in the whole context of the fact that just because you have proximity to the Lord doesn't mean you can start seeing Him and imbibing all the qualities right away. We are all work in progress, and as far as our discussions went from the initial Bhagavat Vahini chapters, where there was utter confusion between and loss. The feeling of loss by Dharmaraja and his painful process of recognizing and realizing. We kind of discussed how they had close proximity with Krishna, but even then, emotionally, they did go through the cycles. So again, we ended our conversation on Saturday saying, friends come and go, but God is always constant and consistent and is always accepting of our relationships. And we also talked about how there is no coincidences. We have to be always we have to always be receptive and open to what comes our way. Anyone has anything to add? This would be a great time. Okay, Sairam, so we are going to move on to the next chapter. And this is chapter 37, The Fate of Demons. And it's about Krishna and all of his and all the demons that he actually fought with during his time. And maybe not all, but most of them that Swami has referred to here. And then we'll have a discussion and a little quote from Swami that I do have. Even if we don't finish it today, we will continue our discussion on Saturday. So with that, I will start. I request everyone to go on mute, please, so that there won't be any disturbance when we are listening to the chapter. Thank you.
Bhagavatha Vahini, Chapter 36, Comrade and King.
Okay. Oh, please, I have picked the wrong chapter, looks like, or maybe chapter 37 also has the same one as 36. This has happened in the past. So apologies for that. As far as I know, I picked chapter 37.
Bhagavatha Vahini, Chapter 37, The Fate of Demons. Indeed, recollecting the boyish pranks of Krishna and enabling others to listen to descriptions of those pranks were assignments that gave great delight to Setsuka. Therefore, as soon as he was asked, he began. O king, there is no higher course for you during the few remaining days of life than devoting them to the contemplation of God, is it not? The doings of the Lord are drops of nectar. Every one of them is a fountain of ananda, bliss. Tell me, which of them you wish to hear about? I shall describe to you the truth of each and the glory I saw. At this, King Parikshit said, Master, I desire to hear of the wondrous way in which Gopala moved among the cowherd boys. That will give me such joy, and I can liberate myself from the hold of death and birth. So Sukha said, King, Gopala woke early during the Brahma Muhurta, the hours from 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. He finished wash quite soon and went into the cowshed to select and separate cows and calves that had to be taken to the pastures that day, and gave them water to drink. He heaped grass before the animals that were to be left behind, so that they can feed their fill. He loosened the ropes from the posts to which the cows he wanted to take with him were tied, and drove them out of the shed into the area in front of his home. Then he went inside the house and collected his cold rice and curds packet with a bit of pickles in it. He cautioned his elder brother that it was time to start, and in order to alert his companions to be ready to join him, he blew a horn, standing on the road. On hearing that call, the cowherd boys were activated quite suddenly. They finished their allotted tasks at home hurriedly. They bore the bundles of noontime food packets and hastened to the house of Yashoda, the mother, ready for the task for which Krishna called. Then the boys proceeded, playing on flutes, singing melodious tunes. Some of them responded to the kokils that sang on trees, with echoing songs of their own. Others ran along the shadows of the birds that flew above. Some lay flat on the backs of the cows and sang merrily their favorite songs, all the while watching with eagerness what Gopala was doing and where he was. Thus they moved on into the forest. Gopala will then place the flute tight in his loins. He holds the noon meal packet in his left hand, and raising his lovely silver voice, he will sing a charming song and slowly walk along. The cows too stepped in unison with the song, as if their feet kept time and delighted in doing so. They pointed their ears to listen to the divine melody. They raised their heads in silent admiration and adoration. At last they reached the banks of the tank. By then it would be time for partaking food. They sat under the trees and untied the cloth bundles, which contained cold rice mixed with curds, cream and milk, and other items according to the taste and need of each. The boys waited until Gopala opened his packet and started eating to take the first morsel themselves. As soon as Gopala took a mouthful, each boy began eating. Once in a while, Gopala used to give his companions a handful of food from his packet and receive from each of them a handful from out of his stock. He went to everyone and asked for a share from his packet. The boys were reluctant and even afraid to give Gopala the handful of food he asked for from their plates, for it had been rendered ceremonially impure by their eating out of them. Seeing this, Gopala assured them that the One resides in all of them, and so they should not feel he was separate from them. How can ceremonial impurity arise when all are one? He asked. Then he took the half-bitten pickled fruit that they had kept aside and bit off a portion for his own chew. How can the Lord, who ate with relish the leavings of Shabari from a plate in the Rama incarnation, desist from eating the leavings of the cowherd companions? Both were intimately devoted to him. One day, sitting on the rocks in the shadow of the hills, they ate their meal and washed their hands. Gopala then ran towards the group of cows grazing in the open pasture. His companions wondered what the matter was. They noticed among the herd a huge, beautiful calf. Gopala went straight towards that animal. He lifted it, holding both its hind legs, and rotated it fast over his head until he brought it heavily down on a rock to smash it. But it made a terrific noise and turned into a Rakshasa, ogre, spouting blood, and breathed its last. The boys were amazed at this. They ran in hot haste towards Gopala and questioned him to tell them what the mystery was. Gopala beamed with a radiant smile on his lips and said, "A wicked ogre assumed this form and came here enjoined by Kamsa to kill me. He mingled among a herd of cows and was enacting this role in the drama he had decided on. I have given him due punishment now." At this the boys extolled Gopala's forefeet, bravery and strength and exclaimed, "Gopala, you have given him what he deserved." They jumped around him excitedly in great joy. They searched among the herd for any other strange calf or cow, suspecting other ogres who might have come in that disguise. They were also apprehensive that their own cows might have come to harm, or might have been swallowed alive by some wicked ogre in some shape. They vigilantly examined their own herds to discover, before it becomes too late, any sign of danger. Meanwhile, they reached a hill rich in pasture by noon. The cows were driven into the shades under the overhanging rocks to be free from the scorching sun, and the boys too rested a while, stretching themselves on the grass. It was afternoon soon, and when evening came on, one boy rose and approached the herd to collect the cows for their return to the village. He saw there a giant crane, picking up the animals and gulping them whole into a cavernous stomach. He cried out, "Krishna! Gopala!" Hearing his desperate cry for help, Gopala reached there in a trice. He caught hold of the beak of that crane, which he knew was an ogre by name Bakasura come in the disguise, and pulling the upper and lower parts apart, he tore the crane into two. The cows inside the stomach were freed. Thus, Gopala destroyed the messengers dispatched by Kamsa, each day a new miracle, a novel wonder. The cowherd boys came to feel it as supreme sport. They were no longer amazed. So, they were ready at any time to accompany him anywhere without any fear. Hearing that Gopala had killed his brother, who had planned to get near him and swallow him whole, the brother of Bhakasura got so incensed that he swore revenge and came into the forests where the pastures lay as a python. It lay across the jungle track, with wide open mouth, ready to swallow whole the cows and the cowherd boys, as well as Balarama and Krishna. To all appearance, it looked like a long cave, and unaware of the fact that it was a trap, cows and cowherds walked into it. Gopala recognized it as another wicked ogre. He too entered the python's body, only to hack it open and save the lives that had been entrapped. They lost all fear and moved on to their homes, secure under Gopala's protection. From that day, the cowherds had no trace of fear. They believed that Gopala will certainly safeguard them against all danger, for he was omnipresent. So, they cared for nothing on the way. They never watched the sides of the road, but walked confidently on it in the direction Krishna took. The sport of the boy Krishna was every moment a wonder, a miracle, an amazing event, a heroic adventure. What can I describe about them? Can ordinary humans perform such wonders? Those who do not have faith in spite of seeing such events are but burdening the earth. They are fruits that have no taste and no kind of use. Sukha had his face lighted with a deep inner smile as he said this. His eyes shone as if he saw the vision of the resplendent one, as he fixed them intently for long on one spot. Parikshit asked him, Master, while even Danavas, ogres, develop faith in God and worship Him, how is it that human beings forget Him and neglect to worship Him? They put trust in the ears that hear, rather than eyes that see. I consider this to be the consequence of some great sin they have committed, or it may be the effect of some curse. At this, Sukha said, O king, your words are true. Monstrous individuals like Kamsa, Jarasandha, Shalya and Sisupala saw with their own eyes evidence of Krishna's superhuman powers. But the falsehood that he was just a cowherd boy was so overpoweringly echoing inside their ears that they were always aware only of the Akashavani they heard from the sky, rather than what they saw with their eyes. As a consequence, they lost their lives ignominiously. They ignored the miracles, the wondrous events, the amazing achievements that they witnessed, the successive defeats that their emissaries suffered at his hands, and neglected the duty to the God before them. What other explanations can we give for this, except that they were cursed so to behave, and that curse must have fallen upon them as a result of sin. Gopala is Lokapala and not a cowherd boy. Go means cow, Pala means he who fosters and protects. Loka means the world. The form he has assumed is human, that of a cowherd boy, that is all. But, really speaking, he is the most auspicious form, who liberates from bondage, having in his hands Shakti, Yukti and Mukti, that is power, attainment and freedom from bondage. Parikshit was supremely delighted at these words of the sage. My grandparents had the unique good fortune of being in the divine company of Gopala. They played with him, they talked with him, they had the bliss of his company and presence. Well, I am able to listen to the description of at least a fraction of his glory and enjoy the ananda therefrom. This too is great good fortune. This chance of hearing about it from such a celebrated sage as you is also due to the blessings of those grandparents. Can such a chance be won without a special good luck? Said Parikshit with tears of joy flowing down his cheeks. He said, Master, I have heard that Gopala trampled on the serpent Kaliya and humbled its pride. What is the inner meaning of that sport? What great truth underlies that miracle? How was it considered to be an amazing sign of his glory? Please describe these to me and remove the doubt that afflicts me. He prayed.
All right, Sairam, that I think that story continues in the next chapter to come. And I just thought of a few discussion questions. Does anyone have anything to add here after the chapter, or we can continue our discussion from whatever a little question that I had? So basically, what I felt was even those who opposed Krishna were transformed and liberated through his presence. And Swami says that in the chapter above. And what does this teach us about the possibilities for our own inner change? I mean, regardless of past actions or tendencies, because most of the time, at least, I find myself time and again going back into the past and thinking, oh, I missed this, or I didn't do this, or, what do we need to develop to transform?
Sairam. So maybe I'll take a shot at this.
Yeah, sure,
Um,
Saira.
Sairam. So there are many things that I could see from this chapter
Mm-hmm.
um, that Swami has conveyed here. We start off with, for example, when he goes into with the pasture and starts sharing the food from other people. And of course, he draws our attention, a parallel to Ramayana. And I'm kind of reminded that, we had this question when we went to the, retreat at one time, when we were preparing, we were part of the lunch group. And so, we were making the fruit salad, and then somebody came and said, "Can I taste it?" And first thought that came to us was, we haven't said Brahmarpanam, we are not supposed to, eat anything before, it is offered to God. And and yet that lady said, "It looks so good, I really want to taste some." And so, we had to, we just said, Uma was there at that time. So actually she has the first-hand experience on this. And, we just, looked at each other and, said the Brahmarpanam and gave it to her for tasting. So I think the message that is coming across from the first part of that is, we need to look at it that everything, he saw, hey, everybody is, the same Brahman. So there's no difference between you and me. And so that is the thing that when
Mm.
we come across something that somebody is asking for something, and we have to get that feeling, the difference should be the last thing that we should have in mind. And so I think that is one of the messages. There are many. As we go along, I'll probably get to that.
Thank you, Saira. Could not think of where we can start with this, but yes. Does anyone have anything to add?
Saira.
Saira.
Yeah, that talking about sharing the food reminds me of our school days. We used to take lunch and sit around with friends around lunchtime to share. But I wouldn't tell my mother about it.
Yes.
So, you
Mm-hmm.
know, what they're thinking. So that's one thing. Krishna is establishing there is no difference between, the among his friends. That is one. But also in this book, it talks about other people who saw his leelas with their own eyes, but they didn't. They thought of him as only a cowherd. They didn't, believe in him. So that brings me to the point that how do we transform that? We have to have the faith, uh, and then practice whatever spiritual practices we have. I mean, about the past actions or tendencies, it will pop in, all the time.
Mhm.
But then we should be aware of it and we act, take the needful actions to overcome them. If we are bound by those tendencies and past action, we can never go forward.
Yeah.
Right?
Thank you. Mhm.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
I.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So how can we, I mean, so even the, so as far as we know the story of Krishna and all of the demons, the so-called demons that were there, were also liberated because they had their stories and what have you. And I thought the question that Parikshit asked was very potent. Even the even the demons are getting liberated, but man is not even seeking it, right? That um, that I thought we could dwell upon in the future chapters for sure. Um, as in, what is keeping us from doing that, right? So we are not aware half the time of what we are or who we are to be.
Yeah, I think we can say our, not everybody is like that. There are people who, change once they follow a spiritual bhakti marga, whichever path they are taking, right? Like Valmiki, for our example, right? He changed, and there are a lot of stories in Tamil literature also about, they changing after they experience something, some divine hand in their life. But for us, I think a lot of it based on our ego also. And then even with the name of religion, God, temple, people do abuse that, you know, that power. That is also there. It is a, then fundamentally it comes down to our nature, individual nature, whether they change or not, what kind of actions we take.
Hi, Ram.
Right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, please go ahead, Sairaj.
So one thing that I want to bring up, it was there in the chapter, is that many people did not recognize, that God is there, and so where most of the cowherds could see that Krishna is actually incarnation, and they could understand it. At the same time, there are other people who didn't, and one of the reasons that we are seeing that is because he came in the form in which they are, and so when he is in their own form, they take it for granted, and we have seen it with Swami also. When we he is doing human things, he's also doing what we are doing. We don't pay too much attention to it, and so I think that to bring that devotion, if you look at only the human aspect of it, we are not going to get that, um, and also there are we don't know who is the Swami in all the people that we meet. Who could be another incarnation, but we don't know that. And just because they behave like everybody else,
Yeah.
so we have the one lesson I'm learning is, everybody is to be treated with as an incarnation. I think that's what uh, I am beginning to see. That's one change we can do. And how do we do that is, respect for what they are saying, whatever they have, and do not be looking at another one condescendingly. If you know something better than they do, at least you don't have to show off or put them down. So those are some things that we can learn.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sairaj. So, what is the message? Swami gave so many instances of Krishna destroying these demons, and asuras or rakshasas that he called. Is there a message conveyed through all of these miracles, the so-called miracles, I would call it, Govardhana lifting, which is there in the next chapter, Kalia, the Krishna killing. Um, Kalia. So each of those things, I mean, how should we take them? These are nice stories to hear for sure. So is there anything more deeper than that? Swami also did so many miracles in that way. I think many of many of the many people just talk about the miracle and don't take the lesson out of it, I think.
Yeah, I think it's kind of related to the previous bullet.
Mm-hmm.
How can we move from devotion driven by fear?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, most of the time, when we look at those demons in our life,
Mm-hmm.
we or in modern day we can call them bullies. So, you just don't be, let fear be not the one that governs our action. So, whatever we can do to stay away or, go away from that, I think that is the message that, we learn from hearing this kind of stories.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that, I actually have a little discourse of Swami where he talked about where he talked. Sorry, I'm totally
I
blanking out.
just want to just add one more thing,
Please,
which came
please.
out
Yeah, I
of
was going to say
this
that before we
chapter.
go there. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that is, when we during the close of the chapter, you know, Parikshit says, so thank you very much, about telling us this story, these stories. I didn't live at the time of my grandparents, but, they had the opportunity to, go through all this, and uh, they had opportunity to be with the Lord. And at least I have the opportunity to listen to those things. And I'm, actually so privileged that I got this opportunity. So that is something we have to remember too. We are in this, some of us had a direct interaction, at least we were able to saw him moving in action, Swami. And so we have to remember that we are privileged, that the very fact that we are here, sitting here and listening to this is also to be considered as a blessing for us. So I think that is something that is highlighted, in that chapter.
Absolutely. Very good point, Saira. Anyone else have anything to add?
The only thing, if I want to stretch it a little bit, lifting
No.
the Govardhana or killing the demons, maybe we can think of it as with the faith and surrender and all the spiritual practices, we can lift our negative, attributes in us, like killing demons, lift our ego, our negative things. It is like lifting a mountain to get away from all these unwanted, things we have in us, all this, mada matsarya, all kind of, stuff. So maybe we can look at it that way. Krishna is lifting the Govardhana, but we can lift our negative things and kill all those negative attitudes or thought process in us.
Absolutely. That was what I was thinking as well. But
Yeah.
it's very hard to actually, it's not a one to one kind of ratio, it's a
It's
thought
easy
process.
to get lost into the just the miracle part of it, just a story part of it. It is interesting to listen to,
Yeah.
and they just attribute that as God's divine leela and stop right there.
Yeah.
And but then for us to benefit, we have to see what can we learn from it, what can we do with these kind of stories.
Absolutely. And the same thing happens right now many times when we listen about Swami or
Hmm.
his Vibhuti manifestations or
Right.
there are so many. I know world is a small place and now it's all over the internet on Vibhuti manifestations and the things that are happening around for with the divine message. So all of that, these miracles is something that people focus on so much that it's almost um, it, it, it just I don't know, the point is lost, that's all, for for the people, for the public. To
Sai,
actually.
also in the
Mhm.
modern world, the
Mm.
demons come in different forms. It could be just a phone call in the form of a spam. Uh, Jay, you are saying something?
Please go ahead. I've just muted
Well,
him
yeah,
for
I'm
now.
hearing another voice, so that's why I'm just yeah. So I'm saying that the demons that are coming, are in different forms. It could be spam, it could be something that is too good to be true. A message of or a letter that comes and say you won this much, and you just go after that. So those are also demons, and this is saying is, we have to. Uh, when fear afflicts us or anything that's too good to be true and are drawn to us, we have to take the permission of the Lord before you jump into something which looks too good to be true. So that's, I think, the message I get from that.
Yeah. I see. Jai, you wanted to add
Sairam,
something?
Sairam, the whatever the miracles that demonstrated by Krishna or any avatar
Mm.
is just a symbolic, like they show that this is just to convey you there is a divine power. So most of the times we get stuck with the miracles only. We just see and enjoy, but we do not go beyond that enjoying the miracles. But the essence behind the miracles is a giving, like it's like a giving a chocolate to a kid just to attract them. Like that's what Baba.
Mm.
Many times I heard that Baba shows miracles just to attract the people. It's just a phase one, but his intention is to give much more than that Leela, much more benefit than showing the Leela itself. But as a human beings, we just focus on the miracles and the Leelas, and then we start admiring the Leelas.
Mhm.
We have to go past that one and then find out the essence of that. What is this? Why that such miracles were given to me? There is not a miracle itself, but beyond that, there is much more things like spiritual enlightenment and more focus on divine things. That is the important message that any avatar that demonstrates.
Okay, Saram. So let's just look at a little snippet of this uh, course. Swami says, today people boast about the tremendous progress of science and technology. But if this claim is true, why does ajnana or ignorance persist on such a large scale? The fact is, much of the progress in science today is confined to satisfying man's selfish desires and not for promoting the general well being of the world. Is it, is it a sign of true progress if a country arms itself to the teeth to destroy another? Is this an index of scientific advance? It is really a sign of ignorance. Good thoughts, good words, and good actions are absent today. How then do you expect the divine to fulfill your desires? Men are behaving in a manner worse than that of animals. How can they be called human at all? Perpetually, they are concerned about wealth, family, and children. They hardly think of God. There are fleeting moments of devotion, but these are more demonstrative than genuine expression of faith in God. Such artificial expressions of devotion serve only to confirm the atheists in their disbelief. Unless faith in God expresses itself in a godly life, it is sheer hypocrisy. I do not want to know what you have listened to, that you have listened to my discourses well. I want to know that you have thoroughly transformed yourselves. It is such transformation that is the mark of true devotion. If the ground is not wet, what is the use in saying there has been a downpour? Those who claim to be devotees should show in their actions some evidence of their faith. They must truly live up to their profession. Sai Ram, in words, any dishonesty in thoughts is brazen deception. Sai Ram must emanate from the depth of one's being. Whether in the Sai organization or elsewhere, there must be sincerity and unity of thought, word, and deed. Develop fraternal feelings towards all. Differences of opinions can be resolved by compromise. If egoistic pride is given up, all difficulties can be overcome. From today, make a bonfire of your ignorance and egoism and develop love in your hearts. Live up to Swami's teachings as far as possible and thereby redeem your lives. Okay, Sairam, I really like this discourse. It was a part that just came up in my little inbox for and I followed it through. I didn't even know it was a discourse till I actually did some research on Sai rhythms. So I think um, it's transformation is everything that Swami is looking for, and it is not easy for us to transform, even if we use the word Sai Ram. mm, how many times does it truly emanate from the depth of our being? So with that, I think that how can we transform ourselves? I know we've been discussing, in detail on all of these things in the hope that somewhere, someplace, we will all transform ourselves. But Swami said that, so with that, I had a few questions. And so Swami says, scientific and technological progress without moral and spiritual growth is not true progress. So how can society balance scientific advancement with spiritual values? Is that even possible today?
It's possible, Sairam. The question is, like, let's think of scientific advancement.
Hmm.
And in the past, whatever our ancestors was identifying or finding, that knowledge was shared across all humans. It's not just kept in a secret locker and just enjoy that fruits of that knowledge. It was never like that. But as humans progress, and then now we are more than spiritual, more into more science, because the science has started developing, and it has been kept in the hands of some people. So whatever the knowledge that they're gaining through this scientific advancement was not properly shared across the society. It's clearly evident. For example, let's say vaccines were identified. Of course, there is a lot of money investment is there, and resources are involved, but it doesn't mean that some company can just use that knowledge, whatever they invented, can make millions of dollars on that one. There is some kind of empathy required in that, when they are pricing it. There is a case that I read some time back. One of the CEO has hiked the price some 2000 times of a medicine, and it was backlash, and there was a big interview came on the TV. So similarly, what I'm saying, giving examples, there are whatever the scientific advancements that as a society we are doing, it is not actually shared in a proper way. Doesn't mean, like, you cannot just give it free. Of course, whatever the advancement is happening, because it incurs a lot of investment money and resources, but it doesn't mean that it should be kept and completely hijack the system and then use it for just money purpose. That's the difference right now happening. So there should be some kind of moderation required in sharing the knowledge, and it should be shared across all the societies, not just one sector of the society or one country or one a group of people.
Right, right, right. Yeah. I think as it's, I think before we never had this issue of political engagement. Jayabhai, can you please mute? I can hear myself. I don't know why. Um, I think the whole idea of uh, scientific advancement has now come to, holding power in the world. So that's why nobody wants to share that. And that's why I think uh, in today's world, it's very hard to have that uh, balance of scientific advancement with spiritual values. Yes, in some cases, in some places, it is happening, but world as a whole, that balance is lost in society today. Not, I don't know about before, but definitely, as time goes, we are seeing that happen more often than not. Anyone else has anything to add?
Sai Ram, talking about the scientific advance, I remember the time when Microsoft Word, came out. Uh, I mean, in selecting multiple fonts was not that easy. You had to, select one font and that's all it will do. And but you could go in and actually access the program and then modify it to, incorporate whatever font that you wanted. And you can actually keep doing that, and use that thing to a full extent. As it started going more and more advanced, then of course they started locking everything. So you have no access to that. You have to just do what they are asking you to do. And then now what they are doing is, you cannot have a version just with you. We are going to keep a hand on it, and you have to pay this much money per month, per year, or something. Then only you will have access to all this. So in terms of scientific progress, the capabilities are improving a lot, but then the human thing to accumulate and hold it only for myself is what is happening. So that has the thing that has to happen is whatever we are doing, it should benefit the people, and that's in some ways it is happening. At the same time, there is an expectation of you have to pay for this, otherwise you don't get it. That kind of attitude.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so money plays a big role, and that also equates to power in the society. So that's, I think, people in general look for power. Please go ahead, Jabir.
So, just for example,
Hmm.
if you look at Swami's actions, so he has established a very high standard, five-star kind of treatment given with his medical, hospital services. But they don't charge anything. Literally, it's a free of cost, right?
Yeah.
But you look at other aspect, other side of the globe, there are so many people who has similar kind of establishments. Once the patient gets in, they will come out with empty hands, completely broken. So the difference is it's possible, but it all depends on the will of the person who is actually demonstrating that one. That's where the difference between Swami and other normal people. So it's not difficult to perform. It's all depends on divine will and the strength of the will.
Yeah.
It's Saidam. Uh, See, the thing is, if you take Swami's super specialty hospital, the way it's working free of cost is probably because all the employees of the hospital, the doctors, the nurses, the technicians, everybody has Swami as their primary, what do you say, spiritual guru, and are working at very, very nominal wages and nominal income, and they are happy with it. Whereas if you take any private super specialty hospital of equivalent caliber right there in Bangalore, the doctors and nurses are not going to be working like that because they do not have a common spiritual aspect to it. It's all commercial. So it's a question of that empathy and all that we talked about is absent in the case of outside world. That's probably because that's the way the whole world is set up. Everything is considered as an economic entity, whether it is a hospital or a school. Everything is economic based, and that's the reason the whole thing is the empathy is lost in that.
Yeah, absolutely. Very well put. Thank you, Venkat.
Hi Ram, I do want to mention here that empathy is also an individual uh, offering. So I have to say I have many years ago when my son was in the hospital, I was there at night one time, and he was in a lot of pain after a knee surgery, and actually a very young nurse was there, just came and cheered him so much that at the end, by the time the later in the night came along, he actually went to sleep in peace. And so individuals can do that, and there are actually a lot of people within the same hospital system do that, and they can actually transform the whole place from what we thought as a draw, something I cannot depend on, to something that yes, I like this. And so was the doctor who performed the it was so just by the way they talk to the people and the way they you know they of course eventually they're going to bill the people, even the at that time, even the insurance person who came, they have in a big thing like that, they come and talk to you, and then they tell you this is all these are going to be covered, so you might be seeing a lot of things being done. You don't get too worried, these are all covered. Constant discussion is going on between the hospital and the insurance. So whatever you're getting is being covered. So don't worry about that part. So there are still, even in this day and age, I see that that is being done. And so it's actually an individual action that makes a difference.
Absolutely.
Saira, I also think it is the individual, that values they have. See, Swami's hospital, they have a different category. Like, why do they do that? They have complete faith in Swami, and then that inner consciousness, they, whether Swami is there physically or not, they know he is watching, and that kind of a reverence, and they want to do the right thing. But we have seen people who are so-called religious or spiritual, but they the value that personal values that they lack in that, unless you pay certain amount of money, that you cannot get into a school, or you cannot get this surgery done, or whatever it is.
Then
First you
religious
have to pay.
process,
Yeah,
you have to pay
you
to.
have to pay, but whether not everybody can afford to pay right out, right? They might pay eventually, some scheme, they can, but the treatment or the admission is denied just because they couldn't pay at that time. Okay, or
God is denied, Uma.
uh, yeah,
Even
they
God
don't.
is God is also denied.
No, God is denied. That's why they are treating people like that. We have seen a lot of horror stories. Okay. So ultimately, whether it is here or there, it is ultimately it comes to the individuals that values what they have, they project it, they act upon it. Okay. That is how the basic human kindness, it comes forward.
Humanity. Yep.
Right? Humanity. It doesn't matter how educated they are, right? So science or spirituality, both are looking towards some higher thing. Okay, they say that scientists look in the sky through the telescope, trying to figure out what is going on, but the spiritual person, he looks inside, and he is seeking God inside. Okay, so ultimately, if we have the values, okay, it is spiritual values or human values, basic values, then the society will be a better place.
Right. Absolutely.
So one thing I also want to point out is in Swami's institutions. In fact, I'm remembering one of the talks by Anil Kumar, where he talked about his thoughts going on before he is going to see Swami, taking shower and do, and even at that time, whatever he thought, Swami, when he met him, he was asking, "Why did you think like that? Why did you think like this?" So in Swami's hospitals, at least when even now, when they get the feedback when they do
Yes.
something which is not correct.
Mm.
So so that and the message that you are seeing in the outside world is this, I can get away with it. But in Swami's hospital, Swami's system, they knew that they cannot get away with it because he will find out. Even today, he will come in the dream or come through some means by which he will convey that I know what you have done. So he wanted them to be model institutions, and it can be done only when you believe in that inner, divinity. So then you will not be doing something wrong, and that is what the message is. So outside, you are going to see all this golmaal going on, but in that, in spite of all that, you don't fall into that. I think that is what the message is.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, actually, Sairam, the
Mhm.
statement, the top statement is very clearly saying, so if there is an institution or a technical development or any technological progress,
Mm.
it's not going to be free of cost. Anybody is saying that it should be completely free of cost. But what the statement is very clearly mentioning, whatever the investment, suppose there is a big scientific breakthrough happened and it involves some money, right? So to incur that expenses, you need to go with the morals, like what is the best way to take care of that investment or technological progress that we are making. If we are not making money back again, you will not progress. And I mean, there will not be any money to reinvent something new, right? So that is what is saying. Without moral means you should have some morals to get that results back. Okay, I invested some money to a scientific breakthrough, like finding a vaccine, for example. I'm just taking that as a simple example, right? Okay,
Mhm.
you invested some millions of money to find a vaccine for COVID, but that doesn't mean that we can sell a COVID vaccine for $1 million. Not everybody can afford when it is very important. So that's where there are morals, like the business with the morals and with the spiritual backup of that business, or whatever the way that we can again move forward with this scientific and technological progress. That is important. So anything that we do, it should have some morals behind it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. I just want to add what Dhananjay said. The one thing which is missed in the discussion is the policymakers throughout the world. I mean, they are overpowering the system in the way that, have a good business. For example, in the health industry, doctors are able to initiate unnecessary procedures to allow them to earn money and to allow the insurance company to earn money, irrespective of the
Mm.
fact that procedures are not required at all. And in one of the discussion, I think Manoj Bhai said that he doesn't recommend any procedure which is not required. So that is
Mhm.
another thing. And the other side of the story is when my mom came in 2022 in Connecticut, and she suffered CHF. She was admitted to ER, but she then never wanted to stay beyond 1 day, and she wanted to go back. Now, doctors were very concerned about if she goes back, then whatever is recovered in her system will go back on the zero level. But then they found a way that she can be supported by the hospice care, which was not covered in their insurance. So, moral, yes, I agree. Dhananjay is right. Moral is very important, and it can be supplemented by any single person wherever they are in wherever work they are doing. So that is where again the moral plays an important role.
Yeah,
Thank you, Sarah.
Sairam. So the point of the discussion today, I just wanted to kind of reiterate that, because all of us are here and we have listened to, I think this is the 37th chapter. We have sat through 87 or 86 of sessions of, uh, of, of discussion. The idea here is to imbibe, is to transform. I think that is the point that we should really focus on, at least now, because we have talked, we have listened, we have talked, we have seen examples. Time to kind of imbibe those, right? Is it possible in every way to have unity of thought, word, and action? At least I struggle with that every day. And but I do have a few things that has brought some transformation, has brought some change. So I think that is what I think we should be focused on moving forward. Of course, we'll continue this discussion on Saturday, and I think um, we um, we can talk more on transformation. Swami has always talked about transformation, so we will discuss this on Saturday, and then move along to the next chapters. Let's end today's session with Om and Tri Shantis. Um, the life application has not changed. It's still a breath-based reflection, and we are focused on the breath. We will also be continuing on a new meditation session on Saturday, and this is going to be an Advaitic meditation coming up on Saturday. So with that, let's end with Om and Tri Shantis. Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Sai Ram, thank you all for joining today.
Sai Ram.
Sai Ram.
Sai Ram.
Sai Ram.
Sai Ram.
Sai Ram.